Hot yoga, the fountain of youth. In this video, I'm going to talk about why specifically hot yoga is such an important factor, and not just so you can live a longer life, but have a better quality of life. Now, to be fair, it's not just hot yoga. It can be all forms of yoga, which will allow you to find a deeper range of motion. But I happen to be an expert in hot yoga, maybe a little bit prejudiced, because the heat, coupled with the proper alignment, will allow you to go further into the stretch, allow for even a greater range of motion, which is really the whole basis of this video. So you can understand intellectually why this is such an important thing to do, why hot yoga is such an important thing to do for your future. And before we continue on, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Hit the notification bell. You get notified when I post a new video. You want to learn all about hot yoga, tutorials, flows, and factoids like this video, hit the subscribe button and the like button right now. Now, there's a good chance you already know that doing hot yoga is such a beneficial thing, or you probably wouldn't be watching this video.
Duh. Yes.
But maybe some of your family and friends that don't do hot yoga don't understand, so maybe this will give you a little bit of ammunition to then relay this information to them. Or maybe you're feeling the benefits, don't really understand intellectually how incredible this practice can be specifically. So once again, in the hot yoga room, and I've said this many times before in my videos, my teacher's favorite metaphor is if you take a piece of steel to a blacksmith, the first thing he's going to do is put it in the fire to heat it up. That's the only way you're going to be able to move that hard piece of steel. You start banging on the cold piece of steel, you're going to break your hammer. So now, coupled with the heat and the proper alignment, we're now penetrating into what I call in my class, and I've been talking about it for years, the inner core, where the real tension lies. And the only way we're going to be able to penetrate into that inner core is to have proper alignment, but also the heat will allow you to go even further. That's the point of this video. Now, people say, well, I can do weight training and I can do aerobics or taking long walks on a weekly basis. That's going to add and lead to my health in the future. Absolutely. I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm saying if that's all you do, but if you eliminate the deep effects that you're going to find in the stretching that you do in hot yoga, I believe you'll be more vulnerable to things like arthritis, rheumatism, slip disc, tendonitis. Bikram always just rattle off the different diseases: arthritis, bursitis, tendonitis, gout, and so on and so on. Because what we're doing is by penetrating into that inner core, deep, deep place in the body, we're removing the blockages that can keep us stuck. That's the key. Another great metaphor is the car engine. Something Bikram will talk about all the time because he was big time into cars. In fact, what's a little side note on Bikram, a lot of times people say, oh, Bikram has all these Rolls Royces and he shows off. Very similar to the yogi up in Oregon they got years ago, a guy named Rajneesh. And I defend Bikram on this particular subject because Bikram was an automotive scientist. He wasn't just buying a Rolls Royce so he could impress people, even though he liked to do that in his Elvis Presley sunglasses. But he would buy older Rolls Royces and fix them up. He even had a garage. I couldn't tell you how many hours I spent with Bikram in the garage while he talked about cars with the mechanics. Drove me nuts. It was so boring as can be because it wasn't my thing.
Can we go now?
But the point is, he loved to use the metaphor of the car engine. He would say you can't start the Cadillac car with a Toyota key, whatever that means.
What's that supposed to mean?
So the point is, if you have a vehicle, any type of car, you've got to get it maintained. You got to get the oil changed. You have to have the filters changed out. You have to clean out the inside of the engine, because if you don't, it gets clogged. All the oils and the fluids will clog the engine, and at one point, you can run on it for a while, it's going to break down. It's inevitable. It's the same thing with the body. We're now moving the body many times in opposite directions to penetrate into the inner core, because that's where the real tension lies. And I'm going to show you a few postures in this video that will reach these areas of the body that you will never reach through weight training and through running and through walking and calisthenics. And I'm going to show you in this video a few poses that will reach that inner core spot, the hard to get to places that will not be accessed by weight training or aerobics or running. These postures are going to get to what I call the hard to get to places. And when we can get to those places, we're going to create this range of motion, and that's what's going to add to your future health. The first posture is downward dog, a posture that's not in the Bikram world, but I happen to love this pose, and it's definitely in the Barkan method, hot yoga and hot vinyasa series. So we're going to head over to the studio with Elena, and I'm going to show you how important downward dog is for your future health.
One of the first postures I want to show you, which is not in the Bikram sequence, but one of the most amazing postures because it moves every area of the body at the same time. It works every area of the body at the same time, and that's downward dog. So if you're in a Bikram class and they don't do it before the Bikram class or do it at home. So with the help of Elena, senior teacher, she's going to go to tabletop to show you how the distance between your hands and your hips. So your shoulders are over your wrists, hips are over your knees. She flips on her toes and she's back to downward dog. This is going to stretch all the areas of the body at the same time. Shoulders are going to come back away from the ears to protect the neck. Don't lock out those arms, especially the Bikram people. Keep a soft elbow, I call micro bend. And it's okay to bend your knees a little bit. Because what happens is sometimes bring your heels to the ground, Elena, and around your spine. Sometimes if you bring your heels down, this happens. We don't want this to happen. We want this back to be straight. So bend your knees a little bit, flatten yourself down, and now slowly begin to start to bring your heels down. But don't just stay here in the position. I want you to feel your body elastic. You're stretching and breathing. Amazing posture to keep you healthy for the rest of your life.
Welcome back to my home. Now from downward dog, and this is something that I do pretty much on a daily basis, even before I even head over to the yoga studio, from downward dog, runner's lunge. Something that, again, Bikram doesn't do in his beginning yoga class, but that's how he starts his advanced class with Surya Namaskar, sun salutation, because it's a part of it. So let's head back to the studio with Elena and do runner's lunge, and we're going to open up the pelvic area and open up the hip flexors once again to lead to your future health.
Another posture not in the Bikram world, but actually in Bikram's advanced class, is runner's lunge. A posture that I do every single day. It's the first thing I do when I stretch my body. So from downward dog, I'm gonna have Elena bring her left leg. Usually we start with the right leg. She brings her left leg through all the way to the front of the mat to get a nice long lunge with that thighs parallel. We're stretching the hip flexors, we're lifting the hamstring to the ceiling, we're getting all the hip area, the pelvic area to open up first. An amazing pose. Now, some of you may not be able to get this far because Elena's pretty flexible and pretty advanced. Come back to downward dog for a second, Elena. So what you can do to modify, you could drop your right knee to the mat first, and now swing your left leg through, and now simply straighten your back leg. That's a really great modification that you can use. Make sure your hips are square. And also make sure you step out. Step a little bit less, Elena. Sometimes if you don't step out far enough, you're going to be too high. Step out further, then you can get lower, and that's going to stretch the pelvic area, stretch the hip openers, a great posture for the fountain of youth. This is going to keep you young.
Now, I said it in the beginning of the video, really all types of yoga, but in the hot yoga world, especially from our lineage, I'm not just talking about turning on the heat. I'm talking about Vishnu Ghosh inspiring a style of yoga and what we do in this style, which is a little different, which is definitely unique, because we exaggerate the back bends. Not all styles of, I'm not saying that the other styles of yoga exaggerate back bends, because they do, but not to the extent that we do. But if you can incorporate in your daily practice the back bend, what a difference. Because if you're just moving forward, and we're very much in a forward moving community, driving in our car, sitting at a desk, sitting at the computer, it's all forward. One of my teachers, Emmy Cleaves, used to talk about creating a C shape with the body and the shoulders. We need to take you in the other direction, into the back bend. And by doing that on a daily basis, or at least a weekly basis, hopefully you're doing yoga more than 3 times a week, 4 times should be minimum. When we're going to that back bend, it's going to create this range of motion of the spine, because the spine is the key. The spine is the key to the kingdom of health, Vishnu Ghosh would say. So let's head over to the studio with Elena and show you a wonderful back bend you can do, which is part of the half moon pose.
The next posture, the next range of motion, I should say, is back bend. Something that we exaggerate in the hot yoga world, especially one of the first back bends we do in the Barkan world and the Bikram world is half moon back bend. So I'm going to have Elena step to the front, arms overhead. After we've gone to the right and left, because this isn't a half moon tutorial, this is about back bends, the first thing she's going to do is turn the tailbone under, lift her chest to the ceiling. If you don't have a neck issue, relax your head, let the head fall, and then you're going to slowly reach back behind you. Let's have her stop here. Maybe this is as far as you think you can go. Give yourself a tangible goal on the ceiling. So let's say that's the next level, 2 inches or a few centimeters, touch my hand. And let's say that's the next level, touch my hand. Continue to breathe into your back bend. We open up the spine, coming up for Elena, and as we open up the back, we open up the spine. This, again, is going to add to the fountain of youth. It's going to keep you healthy for a long time.
Now another pose is triangle, and triangle sort of combines the runner's lunge with a standing spine twist motion. So we're going to head back to the studio with Elena, but I want to show you the range of motion of the spine and the circulation that we're able to. My teacher would say it's like a tourniquet where all the circulation goes from one side of the body to the other and then flushes back to the other side. Once again, cleaning out the engine. So let's go back to the studio with Elena and show you triangle pose. So let's come back for a second, Elena. Here's the big problem. People let their left hip rise and they try to drop their arms down to touch the foot. Now the hip's too high and the chest is too low. So what I do is the teachers hold their head and their arm and tell them to lift up here, hold their head with my hand, and drop this down. Head up, hip down. Now in the Bikram roll, they have you touch your big toe with your right hand. Do that for me, Elena. If you touch the big toe, in my personal opinion, depending on your anatomy, in Western anatomy, it brings the upper body a little too low. So what I do instead is touch the top of the foot. That brings the upper body higher, because what we want is this tourniquet effect, Bikram used to say. All the blood is going from the left side to the right, or it comes to the other side, or right side to the left. So when the upper body's higher, the hip is lower, there's more of an energy or circulation shift taking place. Now here's another big difference between Bikram and Barkan. In the Bikram world, they want you to bring this hip back to square. I don't like it. I like the hip slightly forward. Slightly forward. From here, as to bring the hip forward, the upper body now can rotate this way. But I'm holding her legs in place so the hip doesn't move, and the upper torso has this opposite direction taking place for the thoracic vertebra to rotate. It's like a standing spine twist motion. And one very unique range of motion in yoga, it's not just hot yoga, but other styles of yoga as well, is the spine twist. Now, in the Barkan method, we do a spine twist on the floor. That's called Jatara Parivartanasana, or belly twist, because the belly and the lower back are super connected. So we're gonna head to the studio with Elena, and I'm gonna show you the belly twist and how important it is. And here's how we're finding the hard to get to places with the floor twist. And one of the main points we're making is that in yoga, hot yoga, but all styles of yoga, we are working areas of the body that are hard to get to. You're not going to get to in a regular calisthenic program, a weightlifting program, definitely not in running, not in conventional exercise. In the hot yoga asana, we're going to penetrate into those deep areas. And one of the ways we do that, the hard to get to places, are in the twists. Now here's a posture that is not in the Bikram world, but definitely in the Barkan world. They call it belly twist, or Jatara Parivartanasana. I'm going to have Elena lay on her back. You're going to bring your knees up, feet flat. And I'm going to have her go to the left, even though we always start to the right, just because it's a better camera angle for you. So her hips are going to go to the left. Her knees are going to go to the right. She's going to hold her top thigh with her right hand and look over her left shoulder. As you get a little more flexible, you can bring your knees a little bit higher up towards your body. You're going to, the opposite direction, you're going to push down on your hips to the right as you reach to the left. It's a great twist. It's a great position to get into those deep, hard to get to places. You can also extend your bottom leg to the back of the wall, back of the room. Do that. That's another modification that you can use. And you can also place a block between your thighs. So a block has magically appeared. I can take the block and put it between her thighs, and that's a great modification as well. One last amplification you can do, I'm going to have Elena go the other direction this time, and you can watch what she does. You can eagle wrap your legs. You can do under or over, it doesn't matter. That's if you're even more flexible. Look back over to the right. Wonderful floor twist. It's going to get into those hard to get to places. It's going to keep those juices flowing, keep that engine clean. And then, of course, the famous spine twist, Ardha Matsyendrasana, named after the famous sage Matsyendra, one of the creators of Hatha Yoga. For all you yoga teachers, you need to know Matsyendra and Goraksha were the creators of Hatha, or Hatha Yoga is how it's pronounced in Sanskrit. So this posture is named after Matsyendra. Let's go back to the studio with Elena and find these hard to get to places in the spine twisting positions. And once again, the spine twist postures are amazing, especially Ardha Matsyendrasana. It's a posture that I finish with and Bikram finishes with in his class before the last breathing. So a couple things you can do to modify. If you're really tight and stiff, you can just sit with your legs folded. We call this in yoga Sukhasana, easy pose. Bring your left hand on your knee, right hand behind you at the lower back, and you're twisting to the right. Real simple. Switch to the other side when it's time for you to go to the other direction. Keeping your legs in easy pose. Great position. Next modification, extend your left leg out in front. Your right foot comes over the knee. Left them over the top. You can keep the elbow bent as you push back against, you really got to push back against the top thigh with your arm. That's going to give you the opposite direction. So you're twisting right, pushing back left. If you don't need to modify, the left leg comes in underneath you. The right leg comes over, and this is a really important instruction. You can watch this video when I really highlight the spine twist. Bring this foot all the way to the knee as much as you can, so this shin is as vertical as possible. Now the left arm comes over the top. You can keep it bent first if you need, but if you bring that foot forward, you probably won't have to. You're going to grab the knee, try to get the shin parallel with the thigh. You're going to look to the right. Eventually your right hand comes behind you. Once again, hard to get to places. Spine twist pose is an amazing position. You got to do it every day if you want to stay healthy for the rest of your life. I was really inspired to do this video last week when I was in the dressing room after class and was talking to some men who were in their 60s. And they were coming every day. They had to modify, but they were in that class, moving their body in these directions, doing these postures that we just demonstrated, and that's going to make all the difference. Because again, we can, with technology nowadays, people are going to live well into the 90s. What's the quality of life going to be? By having the range of motion, opening up the body in all these different directions, finding the hard to get to places, which is going to allow your body to clean out. We're cleaning the engine from the inside. We're penetrating into the inner core. That's the whole concept of this video, and that's how we're not going to just live longer, but live a better quality of life, because we're cleaning out the engine, hard to get to places, the miracle of hot yoga. So that's our episode for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hit the like button. Any questions or comments, put them down below. I'm happy to get back to you, and I'll see you at the next video. Bye, everyone.